The invocation of God's blessing upon this 121st commencement of Saint Anselm College will be pronounced by the Right Reverend Mark Cooper, Abbot of Saint Anselm Abbey and Chancellor of the College.
In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Gracious God, we ask your blessing on our ceremonies this afternoon and upon all gathered here, especially the parents and families of those who will graduate today. We ask a particular blessing on the men and women of the class of 2014. Guided by your providence, they came here a few short years ago, seeking knowledge and understanding. Allow them to see that life and wisdom and all good things come to us through you. You have blessed their days here with friendships that will be among their most cherished possessions all the days of their lives. May they always be the best of friends, wanting only what is good and right for one another. You have blessed them with professors who led them in their search for truth and wisdom. May they hold dear what they have learned, and may it lead them to lives of service, so that they themselves become a blessing to all who encounter them. May they hunger for justice and satisfy that hunger by using their time and talents on behalf of those in need. You have blessed them with a love of Saint Anselm College. Bring them back here often to remember and rejoice in their time spent on this hilltop. Bless them now and always. Protect them. Watch over them all the days of their lives. We ask this through Christ our Lord.
Please remain standing and join in the singing of the national anthem led by William Endicott, class of 2016.
What so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming. And the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Please be seated. The student speaker chosen to address us in the name of the class of 2014 is Emily Donovan, an education studies major from Braintree, Massachusetts.
President DiSalvo, Abbot Mark, the Benedictine community, members of the Board of Trustees, honorary degree recipients, faculty, staff, parents, relatives and friends, and my fellow classmates of the class of 2014. This may be St. Anselm's 121st commencement, but it is our first. We have worked many long days for this, but ultimately it was 4 short years. Congratulations. Look around you. No, really, look. Because this is a day that we will never forget. When big moments happen in our lives, we always remember exactly where we were and what we were doing. I'm sure we all remember the first time we were all together as the class of 2014. The start of freshman orientation. 4 years ago, our lives changed for the better. 4 years ago, on this very quad we are all sitting on, Matt Shaw welcomed us for the first time together as a class. 4 years ago, we said goodbye to our parents, nervous and excited for our first night away at college. We looked around anxiously at the faces of strangers sitting near us that would soon become the faces of some of our best and lifelong friends. 4 years ago, we didn't think that the next 4 years would go by as fast as they did. We were nervous and awkward freshmen, still fresh off the summer of 2010, singing along to TikTok by Kesha. We met up with our orientation groups on different segments of the quad, unsure of who was going to be the first person to introduce themselves and break the silence. We felt the green grass of the quad between our toes when we took off our shoes to frantically butt spell our names for the other members of our group. Everyone knows that you butt spell better when you're barefoot. We ate our first college meal on the football field when it was still real grass. Then, we ate again later that night because the smell of fries from the coffee shop was just too amazing to pass up. We laughed so hard tears came to our eyes the next night when Kelsey Ouellette and Matt Santello got hypnotized. And when Father Jonathan raised our class banner at the orientation dinner, we became a class. We all smiled at our new banner at the front of Davison Hall for the next year, knowing what it represented. That was us. Who knew that when we would see that same banner come down 4 years later, we would feel something a little different? Over our 4 years here, we began to see this place for what it really is. Sure, the food at this home is good, but it isn't the food that makes this place our home. It's teachers who become not just teachers, but friends. People who take the time to get to know you and ask how you are every time you see them, even if you haven't taken a class with them since freshman year. How many other schools have professors like Jaime Arrego, who take the time and talk to you, not only to ask how you are doing, but how the rest of your family is doing as well? The faculty here are not nameplates by doorways. I mean, how many people would subject themselves to taking great books Greek literature if Professor Latona wasn't the teacher? Because I probably wouldn't have. At how many other schools would the dean and associate dean of students force you to eat candy after midnight? Am I the only one that had a stomachache the day after Relay for Life because Dean Finn and Dean Litz handed out so many Twizzlers and chocolate bars? Probably not. And the monastic community here isn't just scary men dressed in all black. They are our mentors and leaders of life and faith. And on some occasion, they're also members of your pub trivia team. At how many other schools would the abbot of the monastery grab a brew with you and when you're in the pub and have you laughing all night until your cheeks hurt? Now, do you remember when you first imagined this place becoming your home? Do you all remember getting your acceptance letters in the mail, opening up that fat envelope, and seeing the words, "Dear Joe," or "Dear Lauren," and then reading further and seeing the words, "Congratulations, you have been accepted into Saint Anselm College"? Remember how excited you were to receive that letter? Well, I wasn't. My sister was already here at Saint Anselm as a member of the class of 2012. I don't know what I had in mind, but I wanted to go anywhere but Saint Anselm College. But my dad knew where I belonged, and if you knew my father, you would know how I ended up here. My sister liked St. A's, but my father loved St. A's. He hadn't had the opportunity to go to college when he was younger, and when his first daughter became a member of the St. Anselm community, so did he. He loved this school, from the students playing frisbee on the quad to the prayers in the Abbey Church. He knew his way around campus, especially the cafeteria. He actually introduced me to Tammy, the woman who cooks on the grill. It was easy for my dad to love this school. He never had to take a midterm, let alone 5 midterms in 3 days. He never had to sit through a humanities lecture when the aroma of buffalo chicken wrap action station carried over to the Dana Center. He never had to stress about taking Professor Lucas's linguistics final exam, and he never had to wait 45 minutes to load a 7-minute YouTube video. And he certainly never had to climb through a window to visit a friend after intervisitation hours. Just to borrow their humanities books, of course. Here's how I found out I was coming to St. A's. I was away on vacation with my friends and still torn between 3 schools. I received a call from my father telling him that he mailed in the check and that I was going to St. A's. This is just one of the many instances in my life where Father knew best. I cannot picture myself anywhere else. Isn't it good for all of us that our parents were smarter than we were when we were 18? Through all of our experiences, intellectually, emotionally, spiritually, through things we now understand, and things we still cannot put into words, we have gained so much. Collectively and individually, we have also had our share of losses. As for me, I lost the man who brought me here. While I flourished here on the hilltop, my father became gravely ill. During the weeks and months of his suffering, I received incredible support, especially from Father Anselm, after whom, of course, the school is named. A few days before my father's passing, Father Anselm came down to our house for some lunch and to give my father one final blessing. When my father died this past February, Father Anselm was the first person our family called. Do you need to know any more about the strength of this community? At my father's wake, dozens of flowers had come from different offices and members of the Saint Anselm community. Over half of the people who attended to pay their respects were Anselmians. Things happen for a reason, and my father's death yielded yet one more Anselmian. My father's one wish was to see my brother get accepted into Saint Anselm College, and due to an expedited response from the president, he was able, just days before he died, to do so. He wasn't able to see all 3 of his kids graduate from St. A's, but he was able to see all of us become Hawks. And at his wake, my brother turned to me and said, "I am so happy I decided on St. A's." In August, my brother can dig his nervous toes into the grass and butt spell his name. But today, it still belongs to us. So take a look around. That room 4 flights up in alumni when you were already late for class. The cubicle in the Geisel Library where you slept the night before your exam. The Perini Lecture Hall where you almost passed out when Dr. J brought in that heart from the deer he had killed the night before. Soon, we will be out in this big, scary world. 4 years from now, who knows? Maybe Lindsay Robinson will be on her way to becoming the first female president of the United States. Maybe Billy Gemmell will be on MTV. And hopefully, Tom Gardner will still have us laughing with whatever he is doing. Some, our lives are taking us far and wide. Others will be staying in a more familiar zip code. But no matter what, we always find home at the hilltop. We are Anselmian now and Anselmian always. And my father would want you all to know what a precious gift that is. And trust me, Father knows best. Thank you and congratulations to the class of 2014.
The American Association of University Professors, Saint Anselm College Chapter, presents an annual award to a member of the faculty of the college. Dr. Beth Salerno, Professor of History and President of the AAUP chapter on campus, will announce this year's award.
Emily is a tough act to follow. Each year at graduation, the campus chapter of the American Association of University Professors recognizes one member of this talented faculty for particular excellence in teaching and scholarship, contributions to the academic community through active and positive relations with colleagues and students, and an involved concern for humanity. This year's recipient has particularly excelled in their willingness and ability to serve others. Whenever a complex, politically sensitive, and crucially important task arises that needs faculty input, administrators and colleagues alike call on our recipient. The person has been elected by their colleagues to 4 terms on the Faculty Senate, has helped to hire colleagues at every level, from the departmental to the presidential, and has even chaired a department other than their own when the need arose. This faculty member also serves the community beyond the college. They have given talks to women's clubs and worked with a local theater group to help them write and shape a new play about dreams. She has also served Catholic education, serving on the board of directors for Via Augustina, an independent Catholic school in Goffstown, New Hampshire. Her service has not precluded her from staying active in her field of Romantic and Victorian English literature. She has published multiple articles and book chapters on the novels of Thomas Hardy and Antonia White, on good girls, on convent novels, and courtship rituals. She has presented her work in England, Ireland, France, and Canada, and has served as a co-host for a major international conference on Dickens here at the college. Our recipient's impact on students has been huge. Students praise her careful help with their writing in freshman English and her careful training in textual analysis in upper-level English courses. She has been a strong supporter of undergraduate research through her founding of the annual Mind Over Major conference and support of showcasing our arts and research. She has championed student writing in her many roles related to that, including Director of Freshman Composition and now Director of College Writing. She may be best known to students for her Darwin and Virginia Woolf lectures or the Christmas story poetry reading at the pub. She's best known to faculty for her wicked sense of humor and her ability to find every misplaced comma. I am honored to present the 2014 AAUP Award for Excellence in Faculty Accomplishment to Professor of English, Megan B. Cronin.
On this 121st commencement of Saint Anselm College, it is my pleasure to introduce Dr. Stephen DiSalvo, President of the College, who is presiding at today's commencement ceremony for the first time. Ladies and gentlemen, President DiSalvo.
The President's Award for Service and Citizenship is granted to a student who has exemplified extraordinary service to the college and community while exhibiting the values of our Benedictine mission. It is awarded only during years when a student meets or exceeds the established criteria. This is one of those years. It is rare for a student to spend 4 years at Saint Anselm College without getting involved in some sort of service project. It is equally rare to find a student that has been involved in all of them. All of the leadership positions this student held, both on and off campus, are too numerous to mention, so I will share just a few. A Malucci Scholarship recipient, a Kevin Harrington Student Ambassador, a member of the Daughters of Isabella, a member of the Business Professionals of America, and a very active member of the Student Government Association. It is a common occurrence to witness this student working on behalf of those less fortunate and acting as an advocate for those in need. This was never more evident than when a scholarship was created to offer financial assistance to a student in honor of Abbot Matthew. It was the establishment of the Unsung Heroes Day, which honored staff of physical plant and grounds, of the dining hall, of public safety, and for our beloved monks, that proved that this is a student who is truly in service of others. Thanks to this individual, we have Autism Awareness Week, the Hawks Advantage discount card, free access to smartphone chargers in the library, and the 9/11 Commemoration and Service Day to serve the community and honor first responders. Thanks to their leadership, we have also shipped care packages to troops overseas. During my first visit to this campus on April 15th of last year, I witnessed our school spirit in action. Little did I know that this student had helped organize a gathering of the campus community to welcome home and support our marathon runners following that tragic day in Boston. Whether speaking on behalf of students around the country at the invitation of the National Campus Leadership Council, or attending a highly selective national conference on ethics and leadership at West Point, this student exemplifies what it means to be an Anselmian. When touring prospective students and their families and writing thank you notes following their day on campus, there is always a smile on your face. You act with grace and kindness, characteristics you are quick to attribute to your mother. But perhaps some credit can also go to your dear friend and pub trivia partner, Father Cecil. You are a leader, a role model, an activist, and most importantly, a genuine human being. It gives me great pleasure to present the President's Award for Service and Citizenship to the past president of the Student Government Association, whom I am honored to call my friend, Lindsay Robinson.
At this time, I would like to ask Abbot Mark Cooper, Abbot of Saint Anselm Abbey and Chancellor of the College, to present the highest award of the college, the Chancellor's Award. The Chancellor's Medal is awarded to the student with the highest grade point average of the graduating class. The top student in the class of 2014 is a history major from Woonsocket, Rhode Island, with a grade point average of 3.96. The recipient of the Chancellor's Medal is Justin Eccleston. Dr. DiSalvo will now deliver the President's Address.
Dear members of the class of 2014, family and friends, Abbot Mark and members of the monastic community, Madam Chair Petrini Smith and members of the Board of Trustees, Mr. Schieffer, Mr. Melia, and Sister Sheila, it gives me great pride to welcome you to the 121st commencement at Saint Anselm College. What an honor it is to be presiding at my first commencement here on the hilltop outside in front of Alumni Hall. So when I woke up this morning at 4 a.m. to check the weather, I did not feel quite as optimistic. Perhaps the events of the past 10 hours are analogous to your time spent here at the college. It started out cloudy, not quite sure which way the wind would blow. Then came a storm that almost derailed our plans. But the future looked bright, so we took a risk and forged ahead. And here we are, gathered together in front of Alumni Hall, just as you had envisioned. To quote Dr. Gary Bouchard, now that's what I call faith in the future. Our time together has been brief, but the quality of our collective experience has been extraordinary. One word can best describe your journey over the past 48 months, and that word is transformative. You arrived just 4 years ago with great expectations and a bundle of energy. You will leave campus today having fulfilled a dream, having made discoveries about the human condition, while celebrating your lifelong commitment to serve others. You began as an individual, trying to find your way amongst the crowd, and today you stand as an active, valued member of a vibrant community. You are no longer the young person that set foot on this campus 4 years ago. You have blossomed into a mature adult ready to conquer the world. You have been transformed. Let us celebrate the outcome today, but also give pause to reflect on the journey. There have been a myriad of sacrifices along this chartered course. Hundreds of hours spent studying, endless evenings playing pub trivia with the monks, months on end competing on the field, the court, the course, the ice, countless service trips. There was time spent working and time spent serving, and lives have been changed along the way too. While some families have lost loved ones over the past 4 years, their spirits are surely with us today. During the past year, you welcomed me and my family to the campus community, and together we shared some memorable moments. You helped me carry boxes into the residence hall during freshman move-in day. We barbecued together in the uppers, although I did require Guy Surgery to be my food taster. I visited a winter break alternative group here in Manchester. We celebrated athletic victories and had a few laughs at open skate night. I listened to the members of the choir sing with their angelic voices and experienced Broadway-caliber student talent in the Dana Center. I learned about Anselmian hospitality as you toured families on campus and hosted them during open houses that had record attendance. You welcomed politicians and media to the Institute of Politics, and you painted your faces during the nationally televised basketball game on CBS Sports Network. We toasted one another at the senior formal, and yesterday we lowered the class banner in Davison. I even made a last-minute trip to the bell tower and printed my name next to some of yours, although I don't know how you got up there. Our time together will not be forgotten. I will forever be grateful to your class for making my first year at Saint Anselm College so special. This world that we are journeying through seems to become more and more complex with each passing day. Technology permits the movement of information at lightning speed. Texting and tweeting are no longer fads, but rather commonplace modes of communication. Even for those of us of older generations who used to call home from college on a hallway payphone. We live in a global society where studying away from home, whether domestic or foreign, enhances our appreciation of our freedom. And we respect the political process with a seat on the sideline of arguably the greatest political stage in the world. And while the world around us may move at a rapid speed, I urge you to remember all of those Saint Anselm hours and find time to cultivate habits that made your time with us so special. Many issues have been resolved over dinner at Davison, whether it was late-night studying, gingerbread house construction, or discussing who you should take to the senior formal. Your table became a central part of the day. Don't ever forget the value of sitting down with your family or your friends for a meal. We try to eat together at my house most nights. My wife, Eileen, has learned not to yell, "Dinner's ready." She sends out a text, and somehow they all show up. Another hallmark of your experience over these past few years has been your spiritual development. If you take a moment to reflect on this, it is easy to point out the obvious. We are truly blessed by the presence of Benedictine monks who lead by example. But there are other influencers in your lives here that may often be overlooked when we think about our charism. And I am proud to say that your class did something exceptional this year, something which demonstrates inarguably that you understand this. You honored those who serve you on campus, in the residence halls, and in our dining facilities each and every day. At first glance, they may appear to simply cook and clean, but they do much more than that. They have cared for you as if you were their own children. I do not need to tell you to remember to thank those around you, not just because they can bake better than anybody else on the planet, but because of the love and care that goes into making those whoopie pies. But of course, these years that have shaped you would never have been the same without the support of your loved ones. They share in your joy today. I recall when I finished my master's degree and contemplated whether or not I should attend the ceremony. I was working full-time, and I had a weekend to myself. I told one of my classmates that I was probably going to skip out on the ceremony. She looked me in the eye, grabbed me by my shirt collar, and said, "This is not all about you. It's about those who love you." So today, I am going to ask you to do one thing. Say thank you to your parents, your grandparents, brothers and sisters, aunts and uncles and cousins, best friends. Explain why their support means so much to you. In your life journey, beyond these walls and this campus, do not forget always to thank those closest to you for all that they give and all that you share. All of you have experienced challenges along the way, and for some of you, this journey has been an especially difficult one. There have been academic challenges, financial constraints, personal losses, and much more. Yet the college experience mirrors those you will have in the real world. You will be faced with similar hurdles in the years to come. And because of these 4 years, you will be better prepared to deal with them. Obtaining a Saint Anselm degree is not designed to be an easy task. In fact, the rigor is what makes us exceptional. It is the reason our alumni are sought after by Fortune 100 companies, major healthcare providers, and top-tier graduate schools. It is the reason one of you received a full scholarship to enroll in a PhD program at Harvard, and another is traveling to Europe as a Fulbright scholar. It is the reason that our alum and former board chair, current CEO of the Boston Globe, was asked to give a commencement speech at this very moment at a Catholic college in Easton, Massachusetts. It is the reason that our President Emeritus is the commencement speaker today at a college in Henniker, New Hampshire. Saint Anselm College are sought after even by our competitors. So while the road behind you may not have been completely smooth, there is no doubt in my mind that what lies ahead is stellar. When you leave campus today, you will have turned a page on an amazing chapter in your life and will continue to write your story in new places among new people. But I hope you remember that no matter where your journey takes you, you are always welcome here. You may be leaving the ranks of the student body, but you are now and forever entering the alumni community. Please take with you what you have learned during these years: a strong work ethic and a capacity to think critically and communicate certainly. But more than that, find time to share a meal with your family. Always recognize those who serve you, for it will help you better serve others. And tell those around you how much you love them and thank them for their support. By now, you have heard me say that at Saint Anselm College, we make history where history is being made every day. We are Anselmian strong. We show Anselmian love. We are forever Anselmians. I leave you with one final thought. College is for 4 years. Saint Anselm College is forever. May God continue to guide and bless you in all that you do. Thank you.
On the occasion of these commencement exercises, St. Anselm College honors 3 individuals whose contributions to society are judged worthy of public commendation and of imitation by our departing students. Our honored guests have influenced others for the good through leadership in various fields. It is our hope that by honoring these individuals, our graduates will be inspired to imitate them in the coming years. President DiSalvo will present and read the citations.
I would now ask Mr. Richard J. Melia to come forward. Richard J. Melia built on his St. Anselm College education and his master's degree in business administration to become an exemplary leader in the global healthcare products industry. While serving as chairman, president, and chief executive officer of Covidian, he earned a reputation not only for his astute business sense in an innovative company, but also for being a model of ethical, corporate, and civic leadership. For decades, Rich Melia has generously shared his professional insight and expertise with the Saint Anselm community. He has served as a trustee of the college for 14 years, served as vice chair of the board, and played a vital role in its capital campaigns. the college owes much to the loyalty and dedication that Rich Melia has shown to his alma mater. Although most students on the Saint Anselm College campus know the name Rich Melia, namesake of the Melia Center for Community Engagement, not quite so many are aware of the enormous impact he has had on the college and on the lives of its graduates. That is because his impact is so wide that it is hard to track, hard to gather, and impossible to calculate. It extends through individual students into the families they create and into the communities in which they live, work, and serve. In fact, it would not be an exaggeration to say that his impact extends into the future of the state and the region through the work of Saint Anselm graduates. The college's Center for Community Engagement bears the name of Rich and his family because they are deeply committed to the development of conscientious citizens and believe that this kind of development is an essential part of a Saint Anselm College education. In 2000, they created an endowment that allows the center to continue to thrive, with over 900 students involved in service activities each and every year. Rich Melia's interest in helping others has extended far beyond New England to places like Chernobyl and Haiti, where a helping hand from a stranger has made all the difference. Saint Anselm College prides itself on preparing young men and women who are ready to contribute and to lead. This highly successful alumnus leads by example in his personal, professional, and civic endeavors. He embodies values that are highly prized on this campus: compassion, humility, and generosity. Abbot Mark, in recognition of his loyal support of the college, for his selfless dedication to the welfare of his fellow man, and for serving as an excellent role model for all young people, including the students of Saint Anselm College who graduate today, I am honored to present to you for the degree of Doctor of Laws, Richard Melia.
Richard J. Melia, by the authority of the Board of Trustees of St. Anselm College, I confer upon you the degree of Doctor of Laws honoris causa. In accordance with usual custom, you are entitled to all the rights and privileges which pertain to this degree here and elsewhere. In token thereof, we award you this diploma and invest you with the appropriate hood.
I will now call forward Sister Sheila O'Neill. When Sister Sheila O'Neill became the president of Sacred Heart Academy in Hamden, Connecticut, her career as an educator came full circle. Almost 40 years earlier, she had earned her diploma from the Academy, a product of a values-based education in the ways of the apostles of the Sacred Heart of Jesus. Those strong Christian values and a work ethic instilled in her by her Irish extended family have stood in her good stead, and Sister Sheila has used her education and talents to provide an education to hundreds of young women and help them find their way in the world. Sister Sheila has excelled not only as a teacher of math and religion, but as an administrator. Her first administrative position was as principal of Koryezu Academy in St. Louis, Missouri, where her accomplishments over the span of 16 years greatly improved enrollment and the financial strength of the school. She distinguished herself as an educational leader, while at the same time serving on numerous Catholic and diocesan boards. Sister Sheila is not only a woman of great faith, but also a seasoned negotiator and businesswoman. In 2005, she stepped out into the public eye during intense conversations with Andy Bush, heir to the Anheuser-Busch fortune, regarding the purchase of property adjacent to the Koryezu campus. It was her calm, yet persistent manner that convinced the Bush family it was in their best interest to make friends with Sister Sheila. Today, Koryezu Academy continues to expand their presence as one of the premier high schools in St. Louis, thanks in large part to the efforts of Sister Sheila O'Neill. As president of Sacred Heart Academy in Connecticut since 2010, Sister Sheila has proven to be not only an outstanding administrator, but a warm and caring mentor respected by students, parents, and colleagues. Like Saint Anselm College, Sacred Heart Academy is more than a school. It is a close-knit community where every individual makes a difference, but no one succeeds without a good team. Sister Sheila inspires every member of the team that guides the 500 young women enrolled at Sacred Heart Academy today. Because of her influence, those young women will go on to have a powerful impact on the world. Abbot Mark, in recognition of her outstanding service and contributions to the field of Catholic education, I am honored to present for the degree of Doctor of Humane Letters, Sister Sheila O'Neill.
Sister Sheila O'Neill, by the authority of the Board of Trustees of Saint Anselm College, I confer upon you the degree of Doctor of Humane Letters, honoris causa. In accordance with usual custom, you are entitled to all the rights and privileges which pertain to this degree here and elsewhere. In token thereof, we award you this diploma and invest you with the appropriate hood.
I would now like to call forward Mr. Bob Schieffer. We are honored today to welcome Bob Schieffer as our commencement speaker and recipient of an honorary doctorate. Before I read the citation, I'd like to share with you a brief anecdote about Bob's last visit to campus, and I'm told it was a memorable one. It was August of 2007, and Bob was here for a live broadcast of Face the Nation. In the midst of student orientation, and as more than 1,000 upperclassmen were moving back onto campus, Bob prepared for his broadcast in the admission office on the first floor of Alumni Hall. Just then, a parent walked into the admissions office where Bob happened to be sitting at the reception desk and tried to hand over a check for tuition. Bob directed the parent to the business office on the second floor of Alumni Hall and later commented that he'd hoped he'd sent that parent in the right direction. Well, Bob, they made it to the right office, had a terrific 4 years on campus, and graduated on time. So congratulations, you're batting 1,000, and you hold the highest conversion rate in the history of our admissions office. There is no better way to begin a national broadcast than saying, live from historic Saint Anselm College in Manchester, New Hampshire. So Bob, let me be the first to say that it's great to have you back on campus and extend an invitation to you to come and visit us anytime. Bob Schieffer has become a household name over the course of a distinguished career in broadcast journalism. spanning more than 50 years. His face and name are widely recognized from CBS News, where he has been a reporter for more than 45 of those years. He has anchored and moderated Face the Nation since 1991, one of the longest-running and highest-rated news programs in the history of television. His career has encompassed virtually every important domestic story of the last half-century, beginning at the Fort Worth Star-Telegram, where he was the first reporter from a Texas newspaper to report from Vietnam. Bob Schieffer has covered wars and presidential elections, national triumphs and tragedies, and Washington from the White House, Pentagon, State Department, and Capitol Hill. Few reporters can claim to have covered all four of those major beats or to have interviewed every president since Richard Nixon. Even fewer can claim to have witnessed and influenced the evolution of American news media as Bob Schieffer has. He is acknowledged as one of the preeminent journalists of his generation, and the events that he has covered have both defined his career and shaped the nation. Bob Schieffer has won virtually every award in broadcast journalism, including 7 Emmys. These awards bear out his legacy as a legend in his field. However, they are also a testament to the principles and integrity that he brings to his profession. In a now global and often internet-based media industry, he is an advocate of informed reporting based on independently gathered information. Bob Schieffer practices and promotes high journalistic standards and takes seriously his responsibility to provide information to help the American people get the facts they need to weigh the challenges facing our nation and to judge the actions of our leaders. Throughout his career, he has come into the homes of millions of Americans to report the news with courage, compassion, unwavering ethics, and a commitment to the truth. His alma mater, Texas Christian University, voted unanimously to name the university's College of Communications the Bob Schieffer College of Communications as a monument to his lasting service and impact on the field of journalism. The college is dedicated to educating students to think and act as responsible professionals and ethical citizens in a global community. Its goal is to develop skilled graduates who understand their social, legal, and moral responsibilities and their career opportunities in a technological society. This mission is at the heart of Bob Schieffer's success and accomplishments. Through his support of communications education, his example will continue to shape generations of journalists to come. Abbot Mark, in recognition of his many contributions to the field of broadcast journalism and journalism education, his dedication and profound influence on the American news, and the ethics and integrity of his reporting, I am honored to present for the degree of Doctor of Journalism, Bob Schieffer.
Bob Schieffer, by the authority of the Board of Trustees of Saint Anselm College, I confer upon you the degree of Doctor of Journalism, honoris causa. In accordance with usual custom, you are entitled to all the rights and privileges which pertain to this degree here and elsewhere. In token thereof, we award you this diploma and invest you with the appropriate hood.
It gives me great pleasure at this time to call upon Bob Schieffer to deliver the commencement address.
What a great day. Dr. DiSalvo, distinguished faculty, members, proud parents, grandparents, and may I also say surprised younger brothers and sisters who never thought these guys were smart enough to get here today. To all of you, and especially to you graduates, congratulations and welcome. We have, I think the psalmist would say, a day made in heaven. And it is so much fun for me to be back in New Hampshire, where I can truthfully say I have had some of the best times of my life. As Dr. DiSalvo just said, the last time I was here on campus was in August of 2007. And I have to say I had a headline-making news story that day because the person I interviewed was John Edwards, who gave me a number of really good reasons why he should be President of the United States. Later, of course, he gave us all several reasons about why he shouldn't be President of the United States, and he wasn't. But that is American politics. I came to New Hampshire for the first time in 1972. I came to my first primary here in 1976, and I have been here for every one since. That's 9 of them, and as Roy Rogers used to say, if the Lord's willing and the creeks don't rise, I'll be here for the next one in 2016, and I hope you will be too. Because I immediately think of politics when I think about New Hampshire, I want to start this little talk today the way the late Helen Thomas would have started it. Helen was the first reporter I met when I came to Washington in 1969. We covered a lot of campaigns together, and we covered the White House together when President Ford and Jimmy Carter was there. And one day in 1975, when President Ford was president, it was announced that Henry Kissinger, who was then both the National Security Advisor and the Secretary of State, will be coming to the White House briefing room to give a briefing. And the press secretary said, now you must understand, Secretary Kissinger is very busy. He can only spend 20 minutes here. He cannot spend a minute more. 20 minutes is the absolute limit, and we're going to cut this off. Well, Kissinger, who was ever the ham, got up, and the first thing he said was, well, you know, being a college professor, my lectures are normally timed to 40 minutes. I don't know if I can do it in 20 minutes. On the front row, Helen said, we'll just start at the end. And even Dr. Kissinger had to laugh at that one. So let me start at the end. The lead of this story, the most important thing to say about today is, class of 2014, this is your day. You work for it. You're going to get a degree. Nobody can take it away from you, so enjoy today. Congratulations. And I want to tell you something else. Graduation is a day that holds special meaning for every single person here, parents, faculty, students, even the graduation speaker. May I first say to the moms and dads here today, this is your day as well as it is these folks sitting up here in front. And I want to tell you something. What a feeling it is to know that you are the parent of a college graduate. I am a father of 2 of them, and I tell you, when they walked across that stage, I felt like I had been given a substantial raise. So I know something about how you feel today. May I also say to the graduates, until you sit, until your children sit where you are sitting today, you will never understand how proud your parents are of you today. So why don't we just kind of say thank you to them right here. And since I've been kind of down this road a little bit ahead of some of you parents, may I offer just one bit of advice to you today, and that is stay on good terms with these young people. They are the ones who are going to choose the nursing home. So remember that. I also have a confession to make. You know, I've been reading all these stories about these various colleges, you know, where students have protested the commencement speakers coming, and I think Condoleezza Rice had to cancel a speech. There have been 5 or 6 of them. I want to tell you something. A graduation speech is the easiest speech to make, and there is less pressure on a graduation speaker than any other speaking assignment. And you know why that is? I'll tell you why it is. Because no one, and I've been to a lot of commencements in my time, no one ever remembers a single word the commencement speaker said. And they shouldn't. And you know why that is? That's because graduation day is not a day about what somebody said. It is about what you have done. You're not going to remember anything I say here today, but you will never forget how you feel right now. It's also kind of scary, and it's supposed to be. And I know because long ago and far away at Texas Christian University, 1959, I sat where you sat. I had all the feelings that you have and one other feeling. I was terrified. You see, they hadn't posted the grades in Spanish. I had sort of specialized in Spanish. I didn't major in it. I specialized in it. I took 9 semesters of Spanish in order to get the 4 that were required to graduate. Justin, I didn't quite get to that 3.96 that you did. I wasn't quite there. I felt all of the emotions that you feel, and as I say, I was absolutely terrified that as I approached that line, they were going to come and pull me out of line and say, sorry, you didn't make it. So for me, graduation was not just graduation, it was a religious experience. I realized there is a God. And kindly old Dr. Romaninghi, who was my Spanish professor, believed in mercy more than justice, I'm sure, or maybe he was just tired of fooling with me, but in any case, he gave me the C that I needed to graduate. I'm sure he would not only be very pleased, but surprised to know that I'm actually making a college commencement address today. So, in Dr. Romaninghi's memory, may I just say, gracias a Dios. May I also say that, like the Scarecrow in The Wizard of Oz, it will remain debatable whether I really have a working brain, but now I've got a certificate that says I'm a doctor. So thank you. This is a crossroads. It is a milestone in your life. You're not going to forget what happened today. But now that you are here, what's next? I wish I could tell you otherwise, but I must tell you that you are graduating into a dangerous world at a time when there is a technological revolution that is bombarding us with more information than we can process, and when our political system is broken and our government stands in perpetual gridlock. We rail against Washington, but it is not Washington it is broken, it is our entire political system. No one doubts the seriousness of the problems that confront our country at home and abroad, yet as the problems grow worse and more complex, the government remains immobilized and unable to take actions even when both sides agree that something needs to be done. Every year, we see serious people in government saying they've had enough, like Maine's Senator Olympia Snowe said last year. When I was a child, My grandmother thought I was going to grow up to be President of the United States. And you know why she thought that? Because every grandmother thought their grandchild was going to grow up to be President of the United States. But if you want to know and understand where our politics is today, let me ask you this. How long has it been since you've heard anybody say, I hope my child grows up to be a politician? You would be more likely to hear someone ask the recipe for airline food. Have you ever heard anybody ask a stewardess, boy, that was good. I mean, do you have a recipe for that? I don't think so. I think you're more likely to hear that question asked, though, than I want my child to grow up to be a politician. To me, that is the most serious indictment of all. When people come to believe that being in politics is somewhat less than honorable, but also, and even worse, a waste of time. So the question I want to talk about today, and I want to explore with you, is how did we get from there to here? To sort of explain that, I want to go back just a little bit to another time. The year was 1948. I was 11 years old. I lived on the west side of Fort Worth, Texas, and the big news in our neighborhood was that Lyndon Johnson, who was running for the United States Senate, was coming to the vacant lot where we played baseball to hold a campaign rally. This was really big news, and my dad took me and other dads took their sons and daughters, and we all went down there. And the reason we were all so excited about it was we had heard that he was coming in a helicopter, and none of us had ever seen a helicopter. And so there we were on this vacant lot, and all of a sudden, up in the sky, all of this noise, this airplane without wings that we had never seen anything like this before, and then over this loudspeaker, "This is your candidate for the United States Senate, Lyndon Johnson. I'll be down there in a minute." We were absolutely terrified. We didn't know if this was a politician, if it was God. We didn't know what it was, but we knew how Moses felt when he realized that the burning bush was talking directly to him. We didn't know what to make of this. And then this airplane lands in a big cloud of dust. Lyndon Johnson gets out. He makes this rousing speech, and at the end of the speech, took off his hat and threw it into the crowd, waved goodbye, and turned and got on the helicopter and left. I can remember every minute of that day as if it were yesterday. And I want to tell you something. I can't remember even the campaign commercials of the last presidential campaign. I can't remember them because I don't want to remember them. I want to get them off of me. They didn't have anything to do with what happened after the campaign. It's just a totally different deal. One little sidebar to that, I told that story to Jake Pickle, who later was a congressman of Austin, and I told him about LBJ coming to our vacant lot. Oh, yeah, he said, that was my job. And I said, what? He said, I was the hat catcher. And I said, what? He said, let me tell you something. Lyndon Johnson was the tightest person on the face of the earth. He wasn't going to waste a hat on a political campaign. So he said, I was a student at the University of Texas, and my job was to go to wherever that helicopter was going to land. I'd get on the front row. When he saw me, he'd take the hat off and throw it to me. Then I'd run around behind the helicopter, give it to him, and then the helicopter would take off. But I love to tell that story. I love to tell it because it is such a contrast to the politics of that day and the politics of today. You know, in those days, people who helped candidates did so because they liked to, because they had an interest in the politics, or because they liked the politician personally. But they also had other jobs. They had real jobs. Some of them worked at the bank, some of them worked at the hardware store, some of them worked at the bomber plant out on the west side of Fort Worth, but they had jobs. They did these things because they wanted to be a part of the system. Today, we have outsourced all the jobs that those people used to do basically for free to a horde of consultants and gurus and strategists and I don't know what else. And all of them together have grown into this enormous multi-billion-dollar cottage industry that has made our American politics the most expensive politics in the world, but at the same time, the least responsive. As this cottage industry grew, it was the beginning, I argue, of the great divide that has come to separate those who run for office and those who purport to serve. When LBJ came to our neighborhood, we didn't just get to see him. He got to see us. He got to see what we look like. And that's the best way to get a sense of who people are, is to be among them and talk to them. Today, the modern politician relies on all these pollsters and consultants to give them graphs and charts and statistics about the demographic makeup of these neighborhoods, but public rallies are seldom held anymore because they are just no longer cost effective. And I got to say something, that's why I always have a soft spot for New Hampshire, where politicians still have to get out and actually meet people. Sadly, for our political system, that is becoming a unique experience. So I hope you will always keep New Hampshire. It ought to be first, and I hope you'll keep it just the way it is. I thought that might get some applause here. Here is the worst part of all this. When people who used to do all this for free were on the winning side, they had to go back into the community. And, you know, they could enjoy being on the winning side. But more important, the people on the losing side had to go back into the community and live with what had been said and done during the campaign. Today, political consultants design these campaigns. They're nasty, they're ugly, but once the election comes, the consultant picks up his check and moves on to the next community. He doesn't have to live with the discord that has been sown by a nasty and awful and many times untruthful campaign. I think that is the reason we have campaigns today that leave us so ashamed. There is no penalty for a dirty campaign anymore. It has also made running for office so expensive that in order to raise the money to run, candidates must sign off with so many interest groups before they get to Washington that once there, they are unable to compromise on anything. And when a legislative body cannot compromise, that is what we have today, a body that is incapable of accomplishing anything. But it doesn't stop there. The relentless drive to raise more and more money means that most office holders now spend at least a third, and most of them a half of their time, and I don't mean just in an election year, I mean every year they're in office, raising money, day in, day out, calling people, begging for money, the next day calling the same people, begging for money again. And so many serious people have come to the conclusion that this is just not a good way to spend your life. And so we have seen the talent pool of people who are running for office reduced. Because our political system has become so ineffective, we have come to just sort of accept very little from those we put into office. When the two parties announced last month what they would not be doing this year, and this is a month ago, no entitlement reform, no tax reform, no immigration reform, it was the earliest start on doing nothing that Washington has experienced in recent years. But the part that really bothered me was when those announcements came out, it caused barely a ripple. The conventional wisdom was, well, this is an election year. Nothing gets done in an election year. My question is, since when? This year, we celebrated the 50th anniversary of the 1964 Civil Rights Act, one of the most monumental pieces of legislation and most important pieces of legislation in the history of this country. We sometimes forget 1964 was an election year, and it was well into that election year, well into the summer of 1964, that bill was finally signed. And it was signed because Lyndon Johnson said, that's what the presidency is for. It didn't make any difference whether it was an election year or not, or whether it was hard or not. he set out to do this and brought a Congress along with him and was able to get this done. When people ask me, can we fix this? I think we can. But I think it will not be my generation. I think it will be your generation. We had our chance. I think it is going to be up to you. So when people are turning away from politics, I urge you to turn to public service, not away from it, and to turn to it not only because we need it, not because it is easy, but because it is going to be hard. You must take back our politics and put it in the hands of people who are willing to use good judgment, who are willing to find ways to compromise, who are willing to say, I'm willing to give a little here if you give a little there. The relationships that once made Washington work are suddenly not there anymore. It's going to be individuals who do this. It's going to be people of your generation, if this is going to be done, who are going to be able to do it. For all the bad things you hear about politics, I would just say to you today, it is still worth a try. As you think about that, I think one thing to think about is to remember that in difficult times, America has always found a way. Approach this task by taking heart in how we came to be the country we are. In our finest hours, we have always put partisanship aside and accomplished great things. It is time to put aside the notion that the purpose of holding office is to find ways to stay there by avoiding and doing anything of a controversial nature. You know, think about this. The Founding Fathers didn't worry very much about whether or not they were going to get a primary opponent. You know what they were worried about? They were worried about they were going to be hanged if this whole idea didn't work when they signed the Declaration of Independence. But they went ahead and signed it. Remember that as tangled up as our politics is today, it has been tangled up before. Yet before we step back, we realize that most of the change we have experienced at the close of the 20th century has not been so much of the bad news we're experiencing today, but some very good news along the way. Think of this. Not so long ago, during my lifetime, not before I was born, but during my lifetime, my parents' generation confronted and defeated the greatest evil the world has ever known, Nazism. When I sit where you sit, no black person had ever attended a school that I had attended. In just my lifetime, humans have left the planet for the first time. When my daughters entered college, millions of people lived under communist dictatorships. By the time they had graduated, the Soviet Union had collapsed. We have a long way to go and much work to do, but we have come a very long way. For all the good news, the human spirit still prevails here and abroad, but it does so only because and for so long as good people are there to nourish and defend it. Americans have always been willing to do that. It will only be when they cease to see that as their responsibility that America will cease to be. Let me just say a couple of things to each of you personally. As you leave here today, many of you will find yourselves under enormous pressure to make something of yourself, to be successful. But I believe you will be happiest if you simply find something you like to do and set about doing it. If you're good at it, the success part will take care of itself. And the main reason you ought to do anything is because simply it is fun. These are the choices that you have to make, and they are your choices to make. Take good advice, seek counsel, but in the end, let the choices be your choices. This is your life, one trip to planet Earth. You want to be responsible for the choices that you make, and don't worry very much at this point about making mistakes. You have plenty of time at your age to try something else. You try something, it doesn't work, okay, I tried that, I'm going to try something else. It's when you get to be my age that you have to be very, very careful about these choices. Your son is way over here. My son is way over there. You got a lot of leeway between now and then. So don't be afraid to take a flyer. Remember always and treasure those who have encouraged you to follow your dreams. They are your true friends. Also, my advice is forget those who tried to talk you out of your dream. They are not worth worrying about. I used to think I needed to get even with those people. I came to understand every picnic draws a few flies. Swat them away, move on, and forget them. They are not worth worrying about. And let me close by saying, in this age of contradictions, where it is so hard to believe in anything, believe in yourself. You can do that by remembering why you feel so good today. It's not because you have a piece of paper that now says you're a college graduate. It's because you set out to do something and you did it. It is because you have enriched your intellect by learning things you didn't know, and because you enriched your life with a friendship that always comes from a shared experience of a worthwhile task. The most important thing you learned here is probably what you learned about yourself. So do your best, expect much of yourself. Remember always that true greatness comes not from the battles we win, but the battles we choose to fight. You will, for sure, forget soon what I said today, but you will always remember how you felt today. I thank you. The world needs you. May God bless you. And I've got my diploma. Thank you, guys. Thank you all very much.
I would now like to call upon Dr. Mark Cronin, Interim Dean of the College, for the awarding of the degrees to the graduates.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is the moment when Saint Anselm College and the wider academic community recognize the academic accomplishments of these graduates with the conferral of degrees. The degree which they will possess is a public recognition that they have engaged in the labor which is learning, experienced the joy which is discovery, and now possess the achievement which is knowledge. Will the graduates please rise? President DiSalvo, it is my pleasure to present to you the candidates for the degrees of Honors Bachelor of Arts, Honors Bachelor of Science, Bachelor of Arts, and Bachelor of Science. The faculty of Saint Anselm College have guided them through the prescribed course of studies in the arts and sciences, have examined them on their worthiness, and certify that they are indeed worthy to receive these degrees.
By virtue of the authority vested in me by the Board of Trustees of Saint Anselm College and the State of New Hampshire, I confer the degree of Honors Bachelor of Arts, Honors Bachelor of Science, Bachelor of Arts, or Bachelor of Science with all the rights, honors, and privileges pertaining to these degrees here and elsewhere on those now presented by the Dean of the College.
Please be seated. Dear graduates, it is now the moment you have waited for and worked for. Ladies and gentlemen, you are about to hear that one special name. For the sake of grandparents and parents, friends and family, who want nothing more than to hear their one special name, I request on behalf of the graduates that until all the degrees have been conferred by the president of the college, that you withhold your applause and other expressions of joy or utter disbelief. The Honors Bachelor of Arts, Casey Lynn Chambers, cum laude. Lauren Elizabeth Clark, magna cum laude. Justin Martin Eckelson, summa cum laude. Alicia Jean Griffin, cum laude. Caitlin McConnell Jarvis, magna cum laude. Grace Elizabeth Keating, magna cum laude. Amanda Sharon LeClaire, magna cum laude. Caleb Russell Mason, cum laude. Alexandra Elizabeth Odegaard, summa cum laude. Margaret Cashman O'Leary, summa cum laude. Guy Anthony Sergi, cum laude. Valerie Marie Stein, cum laude. Catherine Anna Williams, magna cum laude. The Honors Bachelor of Science degree, Christina Ann DeFusco, magna cum laude. Caroline Ann Ducharme, magna cum laude. Kaylee Brianna McDonald, summa cum laude. Emma Christine O'Neill, cum laude. The Bachelor of Arts degree, Christopher Lawrence Adriani. Christopher John Albrecht. Catherine Ann Amato. Derek John Amoroso. Jennifer Catherine Anton. Spencer Michael Obie, cum laude. Brian Christopher Ayers. Alex Trekker Barnes, summa cum laude. Brittany Barrett. Paul Anthony Berry, Jr. Jennifer Bell Bartlett, cum laude. Andrew Brian Beer. Bradley O. Bittman, cum laude. Daniel Evan Black. Matthew John Blake. David Loring Boardman. Nicole Linda Boucher. Jacqueline Mary Boucher. Eric Patrick Bowmill, cum laude. Catherine Ann Burke, cum laude. Stephen James Bowen. Devin Jean Brazil. Shannon Marie Breen. Nicole Sue Brenza. Zachary Taylor Bryan. Ian James Brome. Derek Salter Brunage. Titus Paul Buchanan Jr. Matthew Yaluna Burke. Leah Ann Bush. Jason Gibson Busfield. Jeffrey Michael Boucher, cum laude. Elizabeth Helen Butz, cum laude. Tara Celine Byrne. Shaylin Patricia Callahan. Rachel Ann Campoli, cum laude. Michael Lee Camuso. Omar David Cano Estrada Jr. Molly Sky Kavicki. Keith L. Charles Jr. Hillary Delano Chase. Kathleen Erin Clark. Carly Elaine Click. Kevin Michael Coates, cum laude. Gabriela Maria Cohn. Teresa Renee Colella. Marcia Denise Coleman. Gregory Paul David Colpitz. Brandon M. Combs. Andrew Richard Connolly. Sean Patrick Connolly, cum laude. Michelle Elizabeth Conway. Timothy Joseph Cook, magna cum laude. Andrew Johan Cooper. Brendan Timothy Corey. Caitlin Marie Cornelio. Matthew Stephen Cody, cum laude. Stephen M. Coyne, magna cum laude. Elizabeth Maria Craig. Rebecca Ann Cronin, cum laude. Gregory Michael Crovo. Sean Neil Curtis, magna cum laude. Eric Anthony Zapka. Bruno Pinheiro de Silva, cum laude. Michael Floyd Dean. Skylar Annette DeShane Crawford, cum laude. Paxton Marie Delano. Ryan Joseph DeMar, cum laude. Michael Quinn DeSimone, cum laude. Brittany Rose DiCologero. Caroline Collins DeLugos. Christina Marie Doherty. Matthew Leonard Donahue, summa cum laude. Emily Marie Donovan. Brianna Diane Dooley, cum laude. Christina Marie Dooley. Ray Henry Martin Doucette. Elizabeth Ann Duffy, summa cum laude. Lauren Yvonne Duffy, summa cum laude. Liam David Francis Duggan, cum laude. Rachel Ann Duskowich, summa cum laude. Emily Jean Dutile, magna cum laude. Hannah Margaret Earl, cum laude. Brandon Thomas Early. Daniel Andrew Endicott, cum laude. Patrick Malone, even. Shannon Teresa Fahey, magna cum laude. Rebecca Carmen Teresa Fidowa. Eric James Fian. Caitlin Sarah Fair, cum laude. Elizabeth Margaret Fenn. Edward Michael Ferrante, magna cum laude. James Michael Fitzgerald III. Vivian Page Fitzgerald, cum laude. Joseph Andrew Fitzsimmons, cum laude. Michael Justin Flanagan. Nicole Victoria Foley. Michael Joseph Ford. Andrea Lynn Foss. Cameron Lee Foster. Jessica Emily Galvin. Matthew Francis Joseph Gallion, cum laude. Kieran Andrew Ganguly. Thomas W. Gardner.
We made it.
Patricia Ellen Gaudette. Joseph William Gimel IV. Christopher Joseph Genter. Jessica Lynn Genza, cum laude. Giselle Jeva Mudiniselli Hepagon. Alexandra Whalen Janandria, cum laude. Megan Elizabeth Gill, magna cum laude. Samantha Christine Glavin, cum laude. Jorge Eduardo Gonzalez. Matthew Ryan Gordon. Kaylee Michelle Gorman. Frank Michael Grande. Colleen Elizabeth Grant. Kevin William Green, magna cum laude. Zachary Emil Gregorick. Andrea Therese Griffin, magna cum laude. Kyle Mark Grimole, magna cum laude. Matthew Michael Gunzelman, cum laude. Katrin E. Gustafson. Danielle Elizabeth Guyette, magna cum laude. Amy Catherine Harrington. Kevin Patrick Harris. Christopher Gilbert Harrison. Shanna Catherine Hennebree Kenny. Stacy Marie Herman, magna cum laude. Alana Joy Hickey, magna cum laude. Carrie Marie Hickey. Daniel Jacob Hires. Daniel Paul Higgins. Zachary Doyle Hilton. Michael Joseph Hobbs. Sean Patrick Herbeck. Jesse Alexander Imsey. Eliza Sheridan Jalbert, cum laude. Kaylee Ann Jeanette, magna cum laude. Michaela Patricia Johnson. Alexandra Morgan Jones. Brianna Marie Jones. Jessica Marie Jordan. Catherine Jane Jordan, magna cum laude. Rebecca Lynn Jordan, summa cum laude. Isaac Daniel Jorgensen, cum laude. Robert Kang. Chloe Margaret Keeley, magna cum laude. Michael Eric Kearney, magna cum laude. Stephanie Enid Kersley, cum laude. Maura Ann Kelly, cum laude. George B. Kornak. Mark William Katsopoulos. Kylie Marie Kozlowski. Abigail Beth Kruzmark, summa cum laude. Cassandra Ashley LaBelle, magna cum laude. Daniel Martin Lagasse, cum laude. Andrew Duval Lambert. Taylor Marie Laro. Jeffrey Peter Lasky. Christian Michael Lavalle. Victoria Allison Lair. Anne Christine Lado, summa cum laude. Jenna Jean Lemoy. Brandon Gregory Leslie. Matthew Aaron Lessard, cum laude. Veronica Elizabeth Lester. Sarah Marie Liamos. Lucio Raymond Lichardi III. Dylan Brianna Lindholm, cum laude. Megan Elizabeth Linehan. Jean Lou, magna cum laude. Juan Ernesto Uberas, cum laude. Ryan Gerard Lunderville, cum laude. Catherine Genevieve Lunny, magna cum laude. Brendan Michael Lynch. Jordan Scott Lyons. Nicholas Anthony Macario. Samuel McSherry McDonald. Alexandra Isabel Madsen, magna cum laude. Jake Christopher Mallinson. Konstantinos Malios. Casey Elaine Momola. Natalie Jane Mancuso. Joanne Maria Marchick, cum laude. Kimberly Ann Martell. Joseph Anthony Mastrocola. Bridget Ann Maza. Kylie Mae McCann. Michael John McGee, cum laude. Andrew Locke McIntyre. Matthew Patrick McQueenie, magna cum laude. Ryan James Mee. Gregory Daniel Merrill, cum laude. Andrew David Messner. Sage Ann Mealy, cum laude. Lauren Alexandra Miller, summa cum laude. Amy Caitlin Millett. Paige Elizabeth Minotti. Jana Kelsey Kamara Moan, summa cum laude. Carlos David Monson. Kira Shanice Moore. Alexander George Morella, cum laude. Catherine Gade Morrissey, cum laude. Meg Rose Morrissey, cum laude. Stephen Vincent Morrissey. Ashley Anita Morse. Michael Joseph Morse. Amanda Jean Mort, cum laude. Robert Lloyd Mostrom. Julia Ann Muccini. Jeffrey Michael Mueller. Andrew William Euskis, cum laude. Caitlin Allison Mulligan, magna cum laude. Samuel Lee Mullins. Alexander Michael Murphy. Anthony Michael Murphy. Thomas Michael Murphy, cum laude. Jennifer Alice Murray. Jeffy Kervin Michael Nabas. Nathaniel James Nelson. James Thomas Nestor III. John Anthony Nielsen. Christopher Robert O'Brien. Daniel Joseph O'Connell IV, cum laude. Catherine Lynette O'Doherty. Sean Patrick O'Halloran, cum laude. Caitlin Ann Oldfield. Cameron Lewis Olowa, cum laude. Andrea Marie O'Neill. Stephanie K. Orswell, magna cum laude. Brian Michael O'Shea, summa cum laude. Kelsey Elizabeth Willette. Taylor Regan Overheiser O'Leary. Stanley William Paycook III, cum laude. Christian James Papazian. Alexander John Pascal. Kelsey Ann Payne. John Alden Pearson, cum laude. Catherine Jean Polino, cum laude. Emily Catherine Petrie, cum laude. Pham Phuong Zoom, magna cum laude. Matthew Charles Phillips. Leo Joseph Pulverini III. Chloe Ann Potenis. David John Prendergast, cum laude. Matthew David Previty. Michelle Christine Rasco. Timothy O'Shaughnessy Radigan. Monica Lee Redente. Talia Anna Reed. Jordan Brooke Roberts. Lindsay Nicole Robinson, cum laude. Dino Tempesta Raffo. Ashley Irene Rollins. Christopher Michael Romero. Jamie Quezada Rosario. Ashley Marie Roy. Benjamin Clark Roy. Daniel Giovanni Ruiz. Vernice Jaden Brodit Ruiz. Mackenzie Jean Russell Masterson. Mia Kathleen Russo. Griffin Craig Sandler. Matthew Richard Santello. Monica Lynn Savoy, summa cum laude. Marie Catherine Schwab, cum laude. Ann Painter Sears. Daniel Ann Sementelli. Tara L. Senick, cum laude. Richard Joseph Serino. Gabriela Victoria Cervello, magna cum laude. Stephen John Sherman. Scott Paul Shiner. Julie Ann Smith, cum laude. Andrew Robert Spiro, cum laude. Julia Elizabeth Stakura. Ashley Marie Stebbins. Matthew Joseph Steele III, cum laude. Andrew Joseph Sterling, cum laude. Laura Barron Sullivan, magna cum laude. Christopher Frentress Switzer. Ethan Edward Sylvain. Andrew Patrick Talarita. Joseph Anthony Tabano. Zofia Deanna Tebow. Colby Tyler Tiviedge. Lawrence Edward Tilson IV, cum laude. Samantha Nicole Tisha. Lindsay Ann Townsend. Alyssa Rose Tribuco. Gina Marie Treglia. Alicia Arhiro Triantos. Megan Ann Tucker. Kevin Sayers Vanis, cum laude. Elsa Lucia Villanueva. Ashley Marie Viselli. Brianna Lee Walsh, cum laude. Daniel Joseph Weber. Alyssa Michelle Westerman. Tyler Albert Lewis Williams. Tyler Harold Wing, cum laude. Courtney Beth Winters, cum laude. Matthew John Wojciechowski. Marika Elizabeth Young, summa cum laude. Leah Marie Zaranig. The Bachelor of Science degree, Jacqueline Claire Albert, cum laude. Veronica Lucia Amaya. Kelly Sheehan Bernard. Lisa Marie Bono, summa cum laude. Alyssa Margaret Bonamo. Ashley Ann Bowes, summa cum laude. Caitlin Beatrice Bruyette, cum laude. Haley Morgan Brown. Molly June Brunn, cum laude. Casey Rose Campos, cum laude. Nicole Marie Cherubino. Christopher John Colby, cum laude. Delia Louise Considine. Kayla Marie Cullen. Matthew Mark Derkrikorian, magna cum laude. Colby Elizabeth Diana. Jocelyn Brianna Dorsey, magna cum laude. Kelly Grace Dunn. Annie Jean Duquette, cum laude. Samantha Annalise Esterbrook, magna cum laude. Jessica Ann Farley, cum laude. Megan Marie Fay, cum laude. Siobhan Geraldine Flaherty. Lindsay Nicole Fleming, magna cum laude. Emma Catherine Furloni. Shannon Marie Gallagher. Bridget Kathleen Garrity. Monique Marie Gauthier, cum laude. Ashley Diane Gidding. Elizabeth Therese Gillespie, cum laude. Jessica Lynn Goland, summa cum laude. Hillary Lee Gorgold, magna cum laude. Erin Alita Graves, magna cum laude. Kyla Merrill Gustafson. Cody S. Harrington. Victoria Lynn Hastings, cum laude. Kayla M. Hatch. Adrian Elizabeth Hawley, cum laude. Kelly Ann Hennessy. Nalia Margaret Hickerson. Brittany Ann Hofer, cum laude. Kirsten Lynn Huff. Julia Kateri Inglesby. Haley Elizabeth Jarrett, magna cum laude. Lindsay Marissa Johnson, cum laude. Kristen Lee Jones, summa cum laude. Hillary Dyer Keithcart. Lauren Catherine Kyander, cum laude. Anna Renee Kimball. Bridget Elizabeth Kleekan, cum laude. Melissa Marie Kubicki, cum laude. Alexandra Mary Lagudis, cum laude. Robert Joseph Leahy, summa cum laude. Jenna Marie Lauder. Cassandra Marie Maroon. Lauren Ann Marsden, cum laude. Kira D. Martin, summa cum laude. Sarah Elizabeth Matson, cum laude. Alyssa Chelsea Morano. Morgan Brittany McCarthy, cum laude. Molly Kate McClintock, magna cum laude. Carrie Bridget McDonald, magna cum laude. Paige Marie McGowan, cum laude. Stacy Ann Mealy, cum laude. Catherine Lynn Meinertz. Daniel Marie Monette, cum laude. Morgan Sullivan Mott, cum laude. Kimberly Ann Murray. Karen Ann O'Connor, cum laude. Lisa Marie Odom, cum laude. Sarah Loretta Palladino. Amy Catherine Paterzo. Kristen Morgan Pulowski. Sabrina Rose Pelletier, magna cum laude. Caroline Elizabeth Panette, magna cum laude. Alexandra Lauren Posnick. Julie Ann Pratt, summa cum laude. Kayla Marie Quick. Jessica Lee Rhodes. Crystal Lee Sanders, cum laude. Erin Elizabeth Sawyer, summa cum laude. Lisette Ann Schaefer, cum laude. Ashley L. Schwer, magna cum laude. Elizabeth Ashley Sears. Christy Marie Smith, magna cum laude. Sarah Elise Smith. Gabriela Patricia Taez. Megan Elizabeth Vashon, cum laude. Tiffany Susan Vaness, magna cum laude. Christina Ida Maria Vermez, cum laude. Danielle Christine Vitiglio. Christine Marie Woods. Michelle Lee Worthington. Nicole Eileen Zanella. Congratulations to the class of 2014.
Ladies and gentlemen, please remain standing as I call upon the Right Reverend Matthew Lavey, Abbot Emeritus, to conclude this commencement by invoking God's blessing upon us.
Let us pray. Heavenly Father, we praise you for your glory and thank you for your goodness to us as we celebrate the achievements of those who have graduated. Look upon them with love and pour out your blessings upon them as they leave Saint Anselm College to continue their pursuit and practice of wisdom, truth, faith, and love throughout their lives. May they always remember that you are ever present to them at all times, but especially in times of need. May your Holy Spirit give them many talents and skills to be used in the service of your glory and for the good of all people. We ask this through Christ our Lord. Amen. And may the peace and blessing and presence and protection of Almighty God, the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit descend upon you now and remain with you forever. Amen. Trumpet tune?
Thank you.